Okay guys, today's video is about something that is directly impacting me, and that's why it's a serious video this time, because I feel a little bit uneasy about it. It seems Rudi doesn't. He's still sleeping. I've just previously recorded another video that he slept right through like me at school. But guys, the Cascadia Fault. That's a fault line that stretches from Northern California along the Oregon coast, Washington coast, and then along Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada. This is a fault line that can produce the world's biggest earthquake disaster that mankind has ever experienced. So many call it the earthquake that will completely destroy the Pacific Northwest, meaning the coast of Canada, Western Canada, British Columbia, Washington, the state of Washington, like cities like Seattle, Oregon, Portland, Salem, these big cities, the coastline, and Northern California, reaching to Eureka and stuff like this. And if you're a little bit familiar with the area, there is this highway, the I-5, that basically goes along the coast and connects Northern California with BC, Canada. It's I-5. Scientists are saying everything that's west of I-5 will be completely destroyed. So there was an earthquake here in BC just 2 days ago on September 15th, 2024, a magnitude 6.4 earthquake, and that's large, struck off the Pacific coast, very, very close to land, to British Columbia. And the epicenter of this earthquake was along another fault. It's called the Queen Charlotte Fairweather Fault System, which is basically a sister fault to the more famous, and you hear me, San Andreas Fault in California. So that's why they call it Canada's San Andreas Fault. And San Andreas Fault is a scary one. You might have seen my other videos about that, where scientists predict a big one for this year. I mean, we have almost October, so this year, because there are earthquakes going on that are quite concerning. So check out my videos about that. I'll also put one in the end screen. But British Columbia's, Canada's San Andreas Fault, that sounds scary. And that 6.5 magnitude earthquake, you see the epicenter here, didn't cause significant damage. But that doesn't mean that it's not significant. It's important to understand the science that is behind it, the tectonic setting of this region, and the potential implications for future seismic activity. And future seismic activity, that is important to know, especially when you are in cities like Vancouver. I'll just show you a quick view around with all these high rises, the condo towers, glass towers. And the problem is, where Vancouver is built on the ground, and cities like Richmond and Delta, all of the greater Vancouver area, this ground is prone to liquefaction and to basically multiplying the shaking of a big earthquake. So this could be very, very devastating for Vancouver as well, should something trigger the Cascadia Fault. So check this out, guys. I mean, imagine that it will start shaking right now, right here. I find this scary with all the towers and everything, as beautiful as it is, but it is also scary, don't you think? But let's continue with the video. And unfortunately, the recent findings of scientists say, well, they always thought the Cascadia Fault could be divided into several parts, and they don't have to go off all at the same time. So what they found is the one that's the most likely to erupt first, here, in this area, British Columbia, Canada, Vancouver Island, Victoria is supposed to be completely destroyed, especially since they have a lot of old buildings, brick buildings that are not seismically upgraded yet. I mean, it seems here in Canada, that's the feeling I have, they're only slowly realizing the risks that are present here, and they were slow with installing like tsunami warning systems that are more advanced or seismic warning systems. So they have been heavily relying on what's going on in the US, that they would get data from there. This is how it feels when I see what they report. So now things are changing. They're installing or they have installed a seismic warning system that goes on cell phones that gives you a few seconds warning time if you're lucky. But let's talk about this Canada San Andreas Fault. So we will look at the nature of this earthquake. We will discuss the possibility that it was indeed a subduction event. You know, the Cascadia Fault, it's a subduction zone where two tectonic plates are moving underneath each other and then they get stuck. And the problem is when they release, then one will really jump high and trigger an earthquake of potential magnitude 9. So we will consider what will that all mean for the future. And while we're doing this, as I just said, we also have to look at the Cascadia Subduction Zone, because that is a ticking time bomb for, as they call it, the big one. So what exactly happened on September 15th? So the earthquake occurred along the boundary between the Pacific and the North American plates. At first glance, this looks like a typical strike slip event or strike slip earthquake, where two plates slide past each other horizontally. So, but there is more to this story. So even though initial data suggests that it was a slip and slide earthquake, or they also call it strike slip movement, you might have heard that before, scientists are saying that they need further analysis to fully understand what happened beneath the surface when this 6.5 magnitude earthquake occurred, because that's a bigger one, right? In an area where this happened, it could be of concern. So you need to know, why is this happening and where is this coming from? So in order to figure this out, scientists have to get active quite a bit. So they will need to send out underwater robots, basically, and they have to use advanced seismographic tools to gather more precise data on the fault's behavior during the quake. That is important. What did this Canada San Andreas Fault do during that quake? What was happening down there? So it's great that there are these robots, right? These robots can help to make the ocean floor, to basically map the ocean floor and check for any signs of vertical displacement, which could suggest a different kind of fault movement than they initially thought, and possibly even a subduction event. For now, though, they're saying the likelihood of this being a subduction event is low, but they don't know it yet, right? So what if it was a subduction event? Is that scary? Should we be worried? Hootie's not worried at all. He just wants to be near me. That's all he wants. So here's why things get a little bit more concerning, guys. So subduction events, just a little explanation. They happen when one tectonic plate is forced beneath the other, as I just said, right? This process can create massive earthquakes. I mean, we still have in mind what happened in Japan, the 2011 Tohoku earthquake in Japan, which caused that devastating tsunami and the destruction of the Fukushima nuclear power plant. So let's say if this recent 6.5 magnitude earthquake was a subduction event, this would mean that tectonic stresses in the region are more complex than scientists previously thought. And that would raise the stakes significantly for the future. Because we need to know, subduction earthquakes are far more dangerous than strike-slip events, because the subduction earthquakes often lead to vertical displacements of the seafloor, right? If it jumps up, and that can generate tsunamis. Imagine you're sitting in a bathtub and then all of a sudden you're lifting up both your legs. What's happening? Possibly, oh, it's always happening to me. The water spills over the edge of the bathtub, causing a tsunami, right? So, however, it is important to emphasize that the probability that this earthquake actually was a subduction event is low on current evidence. I want to repeat that. So we don't want to completely panic and run to the interior. Nope. And sit on flat pasture, right? That's what I would do if I knew it was coming. But the scientists aren't ruling anything out just yet. So they need to gather more data before we can be 100% certain, and I hope that we will learn more about this in the coming weeks and months. But in the meantime, it is definitely essential to stay informed about what's going on and to be prepared for what could come in the future. So along the West Coast, they have understood that we're overdue with the big one. We definitely are. So cities have started to seismically upgrade bridges and buildings and stuff like this, but still not enough. And I'm meeting people in downtown here that are running around and have no clue how dangerous this area could become. It's stunningly beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful places to me, but it comes with a price, right? It certainly does if it happens. So the Cascadia Subduction Zone is a ticking time bomb. So that's why we need to speak about that a little more, because with my chair here, I'm basically sitting on it and Rudy is sleeping on the Cascadia Subduction Zone. So this zone just lies south of where this recent earthquake just occurred. It's not far away. And the Cascadia Subduction Zone is not a small one, guys. As I mentioned, along the West Coast, it runs for about 1,000 kilometers. That's 620 miles from Vancouver Island to Northern California. So the West Coast is overdue for a massive earthquake, so-called the big one. The last major earthquake of the Cascadia Subduction Zone happened in 1700. And geologists estimate that it was around a magnitude 9.0 earthquake, and it has caused a massive tsunami that has reached all the way to Japan. So since that happened, since then, the plates have been silently building up pressure again. And according to scientific studies, there's about a 37% chance of a magnitude 8.0 or higher earthquake happening in the next 50 years in this region, according to the USGS. But many scientists say 9.0 or even higher. So that dangerous Cascadia subduction zone could not only produce intense shaking that would rip apart the North American West Coast, it would also cause catastrophic tsunamis that would impact coastal areas in the Pacific Northwest. They would get the tsunami probably 8 to 15 minutes after the shaking, but that tsunami could also be sent elsewhere, as we've seen in Japan in ancient years. So if the September 15th 6.5 earthquake were linked to this subduction zone, this would be a big red flag signaling that this regions here where I am and Woody, tectonic stresses are inching closer to a breaking point. I don't like that, guys. So fortunately for now, the data suggests this was more likely a strike slip event. I really, really hope so. But it doesn't change, unfortunately, the fact that the Cascadia subduction zone still remains a serious concern. And I will actually make a series about this, about the Ring of Fire, about all the volcanoes that are located on the subduction zone, almost, so to speak. So we can't say that if it was a strike slip event that we're out of the woods. Definitely not. We're still in it. We just don't know when, right? But since they're saying this is Canada's San Andreas Fault, this Queen Charlotte Fairweather Fault, how do these two compare? Because the Charlotte Fairweather Fault system doesn't get as much attention as the San Andreas Fault. Maybe you haven't even heard of it before, right? Everyone knows the San Andreas Fault. So it plays a similar role in the north, like Cascadia Fault plays in the south. So the key difference between the two is that the Queen Charlotte Fairweather system is mostly offshore. The San Andreas Fault basically runs right through California. There's even settlements that are right on it. So the San Andreas Fault is basically the tectonic plates grinding along each other, not underneath each other. So San Andreas Fault is a danger to heavily populated areas where it basically runs through like Los Angeles, San Francisco. So this geographical location, this difference in geographical location offshore versus on land is one reason why this recent large 6.5 earthquake didn't cause much damage. Imagine this in California, like the Northridge earthquake, all the devastation that we've seen there. And this is just one example. So here in Canada, it was just simply too far from major population centers, thankfully. Oh, now someone woke up. No, he didn't. I just thought when he heard earthquakes, but no, he sleeps right through it. So we know the San Andreas Fault has produced some of the most destructive earthquakes in US history, and its next big rupture could affect millions of people because it's now even more densely populated than before. They call it an earthquake drought right now because in California, because they have less earthquakes than usual, although the number right now is going back up. I've made a video about this. Check this out in the end screen. It's very, very interesting. So this earthquake drought, where it has been without a major significant event for decades, is lulling people into a false sense of security. But they're overdue because in reality, that tectonic stresses are still building up in California. And when the San Andreas Fault will rupture again, the impact could be, and according to scientists, will be catastrophic. So what can I say, guys? I mean, while we might breathe a little sigh of relief that this current earthquake didn't cause widespread destruction, it's still a reminder that all of us, we live on a very dynamic planet, and we're just seeing this right now. It's rumbling all over the world. Events are occurring, and the forces beneath our feet are constantly at work, even while we sleep, like this guy. And we have to stay informed and prepared, and we have to be ready. If you live on the West Coast, we have to be ready when the big one finally strikes. So stay tuned here on my channel, because I will definitely give you more updates in the very near future. So subscribe here, hey, and become a channel member. Click the join button underneath this video, or there's a link in the description. And I'll also try, this is a new thing, here in the screen there must be a little bit of a button thing. If you click that, you can join my channel. I have 2 levels, a basic level and a silver level, and I will host a silver level private live screen very soon as I reach 5 members. And yeah, this is new, my membership channel. I will release behind the scenes videos about what I do when I'm not doing this right now. And I would love to see you there. It gives great support to my channel. I would appreciate that. And thanks for everyone who's already there and has recently joined. So thanks so much for that. I hope I see you soon. Stay safe. Be prepared, guys. Bye-bye.